Start of the week, Monday. For all our American listeners, still a long weekend, Memorial Day. Well, there's some North Dakota guys and girls. A message in. Like the big voice said, for Kellen Solar in Lumsden, anything you need solar, whether it's for the farm, livestock operation, house, Quonset, Kellen Solar in Lumsden. Curtis is back with Colson. The C's are here. Maz is going to be with me in a bit. And then Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, will join us to talk about preseason game number 1. Your comments are always welcome on the Prairie Land Rentals text line 936-6262. Prairie Land Rentals, spring job. Got a big summer job coming up. They got everything from power tools, gardening, tents, fences, generators, skid steers delivered and picked up. Deal with the owner at 600 Albert Street in Regina. We're going to talk NHL as well. What the heck is going on in the Eastern Conference? Could this be the worst Eastern Conference final ever? Could be done tonight if Florida wins. Eric Francis is in hour 2. He'll be with Maz and I, and he's in Edmonton. And so I'm sure he'll have some snide comments about Edmonton. We always love it because he's from Calgary and they don't like each other. Clutch Performer, more from the Riders in hour 2. Darian Durant comes by in hour 3 to talk about preseason game number 1, what he thinks as we look ahead to the game this Friday here at Mosaic Stadium. Oh, and we'll dabble in a little Memorial Cup as well. Big one for the Medicine Hat Tigers tonight. So full show on this Monday. Again, for Kellen Solar, Maz is with. Maz, I listened to the game. Didn't watch it. I don't know if there was a problem with the feed. I saw some stuff on social media. Listen to Dave, listen to Luke. Got a pretty good gauge on things. Didn't sound like the most exciting football contest ever. Again, it was preseason, though.
If you love field goals and you were betting the under, Saturday is an all-time classic. A lot of action between the 20s, not a lot of payoff. So Saturday when the game was going on, we were throwing my mother-in-law a surprise 75th birthday party. I have been working on this thing since early February, and Saturday was the payoff. And it came together beautifully. Got to say, only 2 people didn't show up, but they both had messaged said they weren't. Everybody else showed. The food was on point. Weather was good. Had enough liquor. No issues anywhere. And by about the 4th quarter, because I was tending bar, running the kitchen, got a chance to kind of sneak away, do a little listen, do a little watch. I know that there was problems with CFL.ca. But, yeah, field goal fest. Probably the best way to put it. On both sides.
It happens. It happens. If you go to SportsCage.com, you can voice your opinion there, and you can grade the Saskatchewan Roughrider performance in their 15-9 loss to Winnipeg. A+, A, B, C, D, all the way down to F.
Oh, wow. That's harsh.
I don't see. I'm of the mindset. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. I haven't played. Yes, I've coached championship teams as recent as last night.
Oh,
but
Bill Belichick, stop.
But I don't know enough about how it went as far as evaluating. The coaches on the Riders and Jeremy O'Day might go, we saw more than we expected on so many guys. It was A. It was an A for us. We don't know. If you're going to go off the performance in the game, well, it's 15-9, like you said, a lot between the 20s.
There's a whole other roster of players to evaluate, but I'm not sure if the Riders were comfortable with the punting game on the weekend because they brought back punter Joe Couch, who we had on the practice roster last year. So Bailey Flint maybe didn't shoot the lights out, or maybe he got injured, but Joe Couch is now back in training camp. We have a second punter again.
Let's get right to it with the guy that called the game on the Rider Broadcast Network with Luke Mullender. made some time to stay in studio. He's been running around doing a lot of work. Dave Thomas, voice of the Riders, is with us. If you're watching the stream, there you see him. A little bit different in here, hey? Not the chicken nachos and the chicken wings that you're used to about your because you've been 2 weeks. Your stomach's probably saying, I need that fix.
You lied to me, man. I thought there was going to be food. What the heck?
Dave, we got our cable canceled this year. Our coffee machine was repossessed. Colson doesn't have a truck or a cell phone. Curtis doesn't have a truck or a cell phone anymore. I think the catering budget was the first thing to get cut. All right. Welcome home, bud. You're not at the Red Zone Sports Bar next to the Travelodge in Saskatoon anymore. Back to reality, bud.
But our training camp reports, because it is still training camp, are brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar, where they were eating all that fantastic food right behind the Travelodge. Dave, we talked about it, in between the 20s. A little bit of a field goal fest. Kind of expected in a preseason game.
A little bit. It was interesting to kind of see how both teams deployed their personnel. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, I would suggest they went ahead and they played their starters sparingly in the first half. And Trevor Harris stayed in maybe a little longer than what we would have thought. And then on the offensive line, Jamarcus Hardrick didn't even make the trip. So it was all about evaluation. There was some great defensive play. Jackson Ford was outstanding for the Saskatchewan Roughriders at safety. There were guys that were making plays, and I think you got what you wanted to see. You got that all-out look that you wanted from the team, and now you can settle in and evaluate.
That's one of the things I wrote down, and I'm listening to the game, and Luke is painting the picture, and you're doing a great job about Jackson Ford playing so good. One of the ones that Luke kind of painted the picture about, especially early in the first half, Marcus Sayles maybe didn't have the day he wanted to as far as tackling and wrapping up.
Well, and that was one of the things that Coach said going into the game, right? It's great that guys can be in the right spot, but now they need to make the play. So Marcus Sayles came out, he made two real quick, real good plays, and then he had a couple that got away from him. So I'm not throwing him under the bus here. He'll be the first one to say, I probably should have had that one. But again, it's the preseason for everyone. He was where he needed to be, and now he'll make the play.
With the starters, and Friday, the big story was both depth charts. Wow, both teams playing a lot of starters, going against the preseason norm of you're the road team. You bring in a bunch of people you've never heard of. You save everybody for that home game. But how you explain that because of the short week and then the start of the season, they need to get some people in. I think a lot of us, because we saw the names of the starters, we expected the production and the points, like mid-season Saskatchewan Roughriders, in the first 15 minutes of Saskatchewan Roughrider football in 2025, which doesn't always work that way. Were the plays there? Was it there from your vantage point? It was just a matter of execution where we're not kicking field goals and we're actually putting up majors?
Absolutely. Right off the hop. Dante Myers is wide open, or should have been wide open, but he was actually tripped by a defensive back. So Dante comes out of his break and he gets his legs tripped as he goes to make a cut on the ball. And having a conversation with Trevor Harris about it, he saw him going down, so he kind of tried to lower the trajectory of his ball, hoping that Myers could get there. But if not, you look on the tape and he was home free. He was gone the distance. So the plays were there. Again, that was a bad one and a pretty egregious one when I've gone back and looked at it 3 times now. But the play was there. The plays are there. And so I don't think there's anything to push the panic button on.
From your lens up there, watching the game, how was the offensive line?
Offensive line created some holes when they needed to, right? They came out. A.J. Ouellette had a massive run. Boy, was it great to see how athletic he looked on that big run. It was 40-some yards that he scampered, made a hurdle at the end of it. So the offensive line did a relatively good job. They didn't give up any quarterback sacks, so they kept the quarterbacks clean all afternoon. So there's going to be some tough decisions there. Like, there was guys that showed well, and they knew what they were going into when they went in, and I don't think we have to worry much about the offensive line. I thought it looked terrific.
When I got a chance to watch and a chance to listen, it seemed like the return game was going well. As one of my buddies texted me that this Tate McRae the Riders have is doing a kick-ass job. And I said to him, I'm like, Tate McRae is a female singer from Alberta. The McRae you're talking about on the Saskatchewan Roughriders is not that person.
No. That's Dre McCray, and Dre is from Texas Tech, coming up, making his professional debut with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He was scouted by Larry Dean, and he's in green and white, and yeah, he was impressive every time he touched the ball.
We do have some audio from McCray, because you had a chance to ask him, if we're ready to go here, on how is the Canadian game different?
It's exciting. It's definitely different, but it is very exciting just knowing you're going to return the ball. It's very exciting. I got to take the fair catch and put it in my back pocket forever, so.
What you can hear from him there is that, yes, he had to go ahead and, okay, I can't fair catch this. But the excitement for him is that each and every time he's going to have an opportunity to go ahead and return a football. He's well aware of that. And judging by the speed that he's been able to incorporate into his game, I think that the wider field lends itself to him, and that's what he talked about.
Yeah, I think that was very shocking to me whenever we played, that the gaps are a lot bigger, the field is wider. In America, gaps are this small. You got to go really, really fast to get there, or it's going to close very fast. So,
the one that I guess you guys made it sound, I was like driving, and I'm like, whoa, like how good is this guy? I got to see some clips. I want to see this guy live. That's one thing about the return game that I've always, like, these guys come, the field is so big. Right? Mm-hmm. And practice is different. Your training camp's different. Heck, walking into the stadium, I'm sure, which we'll get to, because a lot of guys were back. They're back in Regina now today. Just that field is so big. It's like a Canadian player going down and playing on an American field or a college field down there, right? It's like, oh, this is tight. I've always wondered, like, how many, maybe mental gymnastics that would be for a guy.
Oh, yeah. You're wide-eyed. You look out at it, and right, what's the first thing you think, right? It's when you play baseball and you see that shift on in front of you. Oh, I can go off field, no problem. This is great. And that's exactly what a lot of them think. But the one thing that set him apart is that he went north-south. He wasn't going east-west. It was always north-south.
And then he had a chance. Did he have a chance to play any receiver on the weekend?
He did not. He took, I believe, a couple of reps at receiver. I haven't got the rep report just yet, but at training camp in Saskatoon, he was making some spectacular catches. Of course, he was there during the rookie camp, and then as camp proceeded, he continued just to make plays. He started as number 33, ended up as number 86 now, and did a fine job.
Yeah, and then because he talks about here in this one how he's progressing in the offense as a receiver after making those nice catches up in Saskatoon.
Just still learning and learning the nuances of the game, the offense in general, and just making the plays when they come.
That Maz, he's the guy. It's every year this time. There's the guy in Rider training camp. Last year for me, it was a Joe. That people are talking about yesterday into Monday, today. Yep. It's like the coffee row right in Alvina today when they were sitting down for breakfast. It was like, well, sounds like we got a pretty good returner.
Everybody loves the next one. Yeah. But that's not just Rider Nation fan base. That's anybody everywhere. It's like everybody loves a great new hit song, no matter what format. You're always willing to add a brand new song that you love into your library. So if it is Dre McCray for Rider fans last year, for me, it was Antoine Brooks Jr. and well, as we learned in conversations, his name Dante, but it's Donnie Myers. A couple of guys, I'm like, hey, if we can get these guys on the roster, I think they're going to do real well. Dave, I want to ask you, statistically, he was better, I'm talking Jake Mayer's numbers, than Trevor Harris. How would you assess Jake's play?
Jake came on. He had more opportunities, right? He had more reps under center. He looked comfortable with what he was doing. He was reading the defense well. He understood what the play call was. Like, there was very little confusion. He had so many different substitutions around him. I thought he rose to the challenge. And yeah, you know what? I don't think he did anything to hurt himself. It's all a progression for him in getting ready for the season. He told us in the pregame show, which of course you can find at sportscage.com, he talked about the idea that, you know what, he understands that he's coming in to be a number 2 for Trevor Harris. He wants to learn from him and also help him so the two can be at their best for the entire season.
So Luke couldn't get to Regina quick enough, as we heard last week, Thursday on the show, that he was going to be playlist, and he was bolting back right off when that plane landed back to Regina. But everybody's back here today, practice today. What can you tell us from practice today?
Well, practice, again, it was an interesting day. It was a windy day at Mosaic Stadium, but there was a lot of guys that came out onto the field because for the first-year players, right, they don't come to Regina. They go directly to Saskatoon. So a lot of the guys were seeing Mosaic Stadium for the first time, and there were some pretty wide-eyed guys as they came out onto the field just exploring and trying to get their bearings of the new stadium, and out of here just absolutely loving everything that's available to them.
Anything from Coach Mace on being back?
Well, Coach did have an interesting comment on his assessment of what it was like returning to Regina, for sure.
You know, I think a couple things. It's good to get everybody into the flow of things, of how we operate, you know, when we're at our home facility. But at the same time, you know, there was, you know, it kind of felt like we were mid-season here. The practice was, I think, some of us lost sight of what we're supposed to be doing out here during this time, and we still got a week left of camp. So, you know, yes, it's good, but I think if don't keep a close eye on it, you know, you can kind of get complacent being back in a place that you're comfortable in.
Now we've talked about him a lot, Dre with an A. This is Coach Mace talking about him.
Yeah, I think just, again, validates his tape. You know, he was an explosive returner in college, and, you know, he was an excellent receiver, you know, at two schools. And, you know, I think he showed exactly who he can be in the return game and in the preseason game. And, you know, just him fine-tuning his skill sets as a receiver. You know, I thought he's been progressively better throughout camp. So, again, just a kid that had a couple opportunities, and he made the best of them.
Now, don't forget, there's a pretty good returner on the roster in Mario Alford. Now, to compare the two, Dre McCray in his CFL debut in a preseason game, again, make your own assessment, 4 kick returns for an average of 33.75 yards, 5 punt returns for an average of 9.2. If you look at Mario Alford and you want to compare his year-over-year numbers, in the punt return, Mario in 2024, 10.1 yard average, 2023 11.1 average, 2022 12-yard average on punt returns. For kick returns, 29.9 last season, up from 2023 when he had 23.2 yards per return, and not quite as good as, well, I guess that was better in 2022 of 25.75. So obviously a decision has to be made, so naturally I asked head coach Corey Mace what he's looking for in a returner.
He made quick decisions. He's north-south kind of guy, you know, and he read the blocks really well. And I thought, you know, to speaking to the other 11, I thought they did a really good job in giving him holes to see. But he exploded through those holes, and, you know, even had a couple opportunities on, you know, to finish a run versus, you know, I know it's Sergio, you know, but, you know, he tried to stand his ground in there, and, you know, he finished the run instead of just, going straight out of bounds. So he's a kid who's hungry, man. He saw the opportunity for him, and like I said, I thought he made the best of him.
He saw the opportunity for him to hit the kicker. Sorry, I found that comical.
Yeah. I like your stats and there, but do we have the stats on the financial side of it, the financial savings of maybe going with Dre?
Well, and the fact that if Dre could play receiver and be a returner, where Alfred's just a specialist, and I know that they have tried him at receiver and there are some plays for him, but yeah, it's funny. This is a great game and a terrible business, as Luke always says. And I wonder, sticking with special teams, Joe Couch is back. Was Bailey Flint that bad? Is he hurt? What happened that the Riders brought back in the punter they cut last week?
Well, Bailey Flint hasn't played a game for 2 years. And so Saturday was his first time on the turf in a while, right? And when he was with Hamilton, he did well. But Saturday, I guess, pardon me, it seems like yesterday, but Saturday, it really was a situation in my mind where, like, he was nervous. He came out, he wanted to make an impression, and, you know, the snaps were bang on. Jorgen Hughes got it back to him every single time that he needed to. It just didn't go well for him. There was a couple of kicks off the side of his foot. I think maybe he was trying to place it a little more than what he had thought he had to do in the wind in Winnipeg. His numbers, 40.6 yard punt average, on Saturday. Well, you look at Adam Korsak from a year ago, 47.2 yards. Well, Joe Couch has never made a punt in the Canadian Football League, right? He's never dressed for a game. So Joe Couch, they know what they've got in Joe Couch. He was still in Canada being a global punter, so why not bring him in and have a little competition, which they did at the end of camp.
It was last week when we talked about punting and kicking, Dave, and I'm like, Griffith Stadium is a lot different than the bowl in Mosaic down underneath, and Winnipeg would be the same thing. And then you get in the winds, and then you get in the pressure of being out there in a real game. We talked about this. That's one thing that Luke, again, painted the picture early on. He was not happy with the punting.
Well, and the other thing, too, is that don't forget that it's a two-component job. Not only are you the punter, you're also the holder for Brett Lother, right? And Brett went 2 for 3 on the weekend, and, the hold was not an issue in any of them. So it's a dual role, and you want Lother to be comfortable with who's holding for him. So, again, Joe Couch has done it for a year now, too. So you're bringing back familiarity. You're breeding competition, saying that, hey, look, guys, no spot is safe yet until the end of camp, so let's keep going.
What did you see out of the Bombers that you liked?
The defense looked very fast again. Like, I was curious what it was going to look like without Tyrell Ford in the backfield, because, of course, the Bombers didn't intercept a lot of footballs last season, and he led the way head and shoulders above the rest. So it's a young secondary that the Bombers are working on. The other thing that kind of piqued my interest is the number of receivers that aren't back for the Bombers this year. We all know Kenny Lawler, is gone. But we also know Ontario Wilson has gone to the New York Jets. So those are two big guns that they don't have all of a sudden at their disposal. So the Winnipeg Blue Bomber receiving core is going to look different. Now, of course, Nick Dembski didn't dress back on Saturday, so we'll wait and see what it eventually pans out to be. But those were a couple of areas that really stood out for me in that game. Anybody not on the field today for Riders when they came back? Jameer Thurman wasn't. He was out for the day today, as was Nelson Lacombo and CJ Rivas. None are believed to be, I don't want to say significant, because that really underplays why they weren't on the field, but none are expected to be long-term injuries, just nicks and maybe a little bit of game maintenance there.
One guy I wanted to ask you about, Tavon Campbell. What did you see from him being back in the game, back in the Canadian game, specifically?
One target, and it was a reception in front of him. He made the tackle on the play, and that was about it. So he didn't get a lot of reps. I think that the coaches are very
cautious.
No, convinced that they know what they're getting with him. So give the other guys an opportunity to come out and make a play, as there still are a number of defensive backs in camp.
Did you think from the Bombers side of things, with a brand new offensive coordinator, with Buck Pierce being gone, that they actually, for week 1 of the preseason, actually looked pretty good and fluid at times?
Well, I don't buy into it's a whole new offensive coordinator idea, and the fact that the offensive coordinator for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers was their running back coach for the last 3 seasons. So he's been within the system. He knows what he's doing. So again, there's a lot being made about it, and what I think might change is maybe the sequence of play calls or how he makes his progressions in game. But I don't think the offense as a whole is going to change a whole heck of a lot, because again, the offense really hasn't been that much of a concern. And when you've got a guy like Brady Oliveira, who was looking great playing in a preseason game for the first time in 3 years, you go ahead and you look at it and you're like, okay, if you can get him the ball and that offensive line can do what they do, you're going to be okay.
All right. Long week stretch. You're back now. You're at practice early. You're a workhorse. That's what you are.
Well, I heard that Western Pizza was kicking around here. That's why I came in. I'm going to be honest.
No. Hey, if we called Spiro, I don't want to bug him. You know what? Luke
O's. I want to get in on this, even though I didn't have any part of it. I still think I should get in on it.
Well, I could share. I'm going to order so much. It will be enough for 2. Oh, Luke, eh? Missed the bet. All right, hour 2, you're going to come back, or maybe we'll let you jet home and do it from there. We're going to talk about more. You got to sit down with one of the coaches.
Yeah, Kent Majuri, the special teams coordinator, going to break it down for you, Rider Nation, as to what he's seen from his kicker, his punter, and his return games.
All right, that is voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Dave Thomas, live in studio here. Our training camp reports brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar right behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. We'll take a quick break. It's Maz and the C's with me today. It's the SportsCage streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Welcome back for Kellen Solar. Trusted 35 years experience moving water from a dugout or well without electricity. Visit kellensolar.com to find out more for your livestock operation or if you need solar for anything else. Maz is with me today, and the C's are back in the fold. A lot to recap there with the Rider game, and we did it with Dave, and we'll do it again in a bit. Let's get into hockey. And the Edmonton Oilers, are they for real? Like, are they going to eliminate Dallas in possibly 5 games now? Like, Dallas looks so bad yesterday.
They could. And when you think back to that LA series, you had them.
Yeah.
You had them. Until one call changes it all, because the LA Kings look like a way harder opponent than the Dallas Stars do at the moment. Dallas has got no pushback at all. Like the Florida Panthers, you know what you're going to get. If you go into the corner and you're right and there's an elbow to the head, there's an elbow to the head coming right back at you. And probably from 2 guys. Like Florida does not back down, and Carolina's outwitted. But the Oilers yesterday, at a certain point, it was like the Simpsons meme. Stop. They're dead already. Like when they made it 5-1 and then they made it 6-1, you're like, if you're Dallas and you're sitting there and you're looking around the dressing room, you're looking at in the eyes, who we got? I'm not sure. There's the Missing Curfew guys interviewed Zenon Konopka in the latest episode, and I was listening to that earlier today. Now, Zenon Konopka is a bit of an animal. They're telling a story about the playoffs. A guy on his own team piped up in the dressing room and said something dumb. He went to the condos where they all live, and he wanted to fight a guy on his own team because that's how into it and how jazzed he was.
Why wouldn't a guy? Right on. Zach Hyman, like, he looks like Brendan Shanahan from the heyday, or Phil Esposito if you want to go back further. I'm like, what is going on? And it's like every game there's somebody else with the Oilers. And yes, McDavid was awesome again. But it's not like McDavid and Draisaitl are having to, like, carry this up the mountain. They're the, it's everybody chip every game. It's like, oh my, did you see Evander Kane? Wow, did he look? Hey, Corey Perry. Hey, Connor Brown. Hey, Trent Frederick. It's like, and then Zach Hyman, and then the Nuge is going to go off. And yeah.
I think that's the difference from last year, where you had to see a lot of McDavid and Draisaitl being the guys that always had to drag the team along, where now you're actually getting some other stuff without them. But if you can't put a body on McDavid, it's harder than it seems. I know, but even the attempt, like even with Draisaitl, like I saw a few times yesterday where even he was along the boards. If they do end up playing Florida, that Florida player is going to take that extra half second and just, even if it's the tiniest of nudges. But Dallas, they're just letting them get away clean. And Ottinger, a few of those were goal scorer goals, but a few of them you're like, okay. And DeBoer was great. He defended Ottinger, saying, listen, the only reason we're here is because of Jake Ottinger. No throwing under the bus. But there was a couple there that
I would like to be in Stuart Skinner's kitchen or closet, big closet guy, and find out really what he's thinking. Like, again, like everybody is just hail Stu, and it should be. I almost want the Oilers to win the jug for nothing else but Stu Skinner. Oh, and to see them beat the snot out of each other in the moss pit. You can't get enough of those videos going around as well. It's like, what a city. Of all cities that I thought would be just totally whacked out and wanting to beat the piss out of each other, it wouldn't have been Edmonton. I would have picked a different city, but it's like, if you're on social media and you haven't seen it, it's like, what are these guys doing to each other?
even Canucks fans are going, guys, you're taking it a little too far. And there are some people that with zero morals. I said last week when you weren't on the show, the beautiful thing is if the Oilers were to win the cup, the first 15 minutes of the parade is just Darnell Nurse by himself in one convertible. And then the next 15 minutes is Stuart Skinner. You get a half hour of the two most hated, most maligned Oilers ever before anybody else comes out. That's your penance for throwing those guys under the parade bus for the past year and the panic button everywhere.
That's
but
good.
Skinner, they're not making it hard on Skinner. He's seeing everything. There's no traffic. He's getting all the rebounds. There's nothing.
I saw this online yesterday, and it made me think of Edmonton and the Moss Pit. I actually think I sent it to the SportsCage too, but I didn't tell you guys to bring it for the streaming listeners out there. It was 5-on-5 Poland versus Russia MMA fighting. So the cage was bigger. And there's 5 refs, and it's 5, and they line up on each other, and they just go at it. And I'm just like, Edmonton needs a team in this league, whatever this is. Just 5-on-5 fighting. And then there's females chucking them in the Moss Pit. It's wow.
Yesterday's afternoon game, and even my mother-in-law asked, why are they playing in the afternoon? I'm like, it's for American TV. Like that, like it's just for the American, the American TV schedule dictates what happens when. Oh, this is 5-on-5.
If you're watching the stream, here it is. 5-on-5 MMA. This isn't as crazy as car jitsu, which I have to get into the next time Harry's on with me. We're going to go down the car jitsu, which is a legit thing. But if you're watching the stream, here it is. 5-on-5. And like this ref looks like, what are we doing? Yeah, the Moss Pit. That's exactly what.
Well, then I saw a video, and I'm not sure if this was from Edmonton after the game, but there was a bunch of dudes dressed up for a bachelor party. They're all wearing khaki shorts, white shirts and ties, and they got into a rumble somewhere with a crowd and a bunch of bouncers. And I'm like, is this after the game? Because all it is are, and my algorithm is pretty much Joe Rogan clips,
Eric Church songs,
Eric Church songs, stupid things that I send to you, and people fighting in the Moss Pit. That's all it is. YEG Wave. Like, Just Bins can't even get in there to put a reel up because YEG Wave just has them like on lockdown. It's just content.
They are good. Hey, big game tonight at the Memorial Cup. Willie
Moncton.
Desjardins, Sasky legend, Sasky beauty, take it on Moncton. Medicine Hat's 1-0, and Moncton's 0-1. So that one is coming up tonight. We'll recap it tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna go to break. When we come back, we're gonna go SportsCage Life. I got a life question for anybody. I need the answer to this, and it's going to be Prairieland Rentals text line 936-6262. Somebody out there listening, whether it's on the stream, the YouTube, or the radio, is going to know the answer to this question that I have. It's not good. It's kind of gross, but I need to know the answer to this.
And on Friday, we got an update on Colson's life and what's happening in his backyard at his rental. So now we need a further update because Thursday took a bizarre turn. And I offered him some life advice, and I don't know if he took it. We don't know if it happened again, but there was a lot going on.
We need you. We need you, SportsCage Nation. When we come back after break, I got a life question here. 936-6262. It is a SportsCage. Streaming at sportscage.com. I just heard the ad, Maz, for the Potted Butte Rodeo. Sounds like a good time. Never been. Sounds like that Gecko band from Mexico. They are good. I've seen them live. What weekend is it, Colson? Not this weekend.
June 13th.
June 13th to 15th, Father's Day weekend.
I might be home all alone. No. Which weekend's that? Yeah, the girls are in Minnesota. I'm not going to go there by myself. That's a good time. Potted Butte Road. Okay. Life. First off, thanks to everyone texting in the Prairieland Rentals text line. I'm going to get to some of those in the middle. I have a serious question here. It is kind of gross. Not going to lie to you, but somebody out there will know the answer to this. I live in northwest Regina. Okay? Lots of bunnies, rabbits. I have fairly decent-sized backyard. No dogs anymore. They both passed away. David and Chikai, rest in peace. So the bunnies get in, and then they kind of do things because there's lots of trees and bushes and stuff like that in the winter, and it's just like, oh, my neighbor's like, oh, you got a lot of bunnies back there. Anyway, there's just some baby ones that I saw in the last little bit here. They've gotten bigger. Saturday night, and then again this morning. It happened once last year. We walk outside. Today it was Mrs. S going to work, and she's like, there's another one on the lawn. Saturday night, Gabby's got 5 friends sleeping over, so they're all 12-year-old girls. They're freaking out. There's one on the lawn. Decapitated. Bunnies on my lawn. What is ripping the head off of these bunnies on my front lawn? I'm dead. I need to answer. There's a hawk in the area. We know that. My daughter says she saw a cat like hunting low the other night. Then some people are saying magpies, crows can do it. I need to know. 936-6262. Guaranteed you haven't experienced this because you're looking at me like I'm weird. I told you it was a little bit gross. Anybody? Can anyone help me? What is it?
If you're a member of PETA, Saskatchewan, and you'd like to start an investigation, it's Shynkaruk, Shynkaruk.
Yes.
I'll get you the address off air.
Get in touch with me. I would like to know. Can a cat do this? Is it the hawk? Magpie, crow? You have nothing, do you? You can't help me. I feel like there's somebody like rural Saskatchewan. Here we go. Here they come. Here they come. Owl. Yes. I have never seen an owl in our neighborhood, though. That's not to say there isn't one. Owl. I did read up on owl. Pat. Oh, there's a lot of text messages coming in. Thanks. See this. I hope I'm going to record. I'm going to play this for my whole family because we're all dumbfounded. That's how cats kill. All right. It's not a crow, but rather a raven. Sorry, I think I was wrong. Yes. A cat, more cats, owls, cat, and more. Lots of cat. It's got to be the cat, right? Gabby was right. Which that means probably mice. There's nothing worse to. I did drop something off at somebody's house on the weekend. Cut your bloody lawns. If your lawn is huge in this, because that's where mice go. There's nothing worse than having a neighbor with long grass, because mice like to live in there. Don't be a skid. Cut your lawn, Regina. Should be a slogan. Coyotes. There's no coyotes in my neighborhood right now. I have seen them in the winter when there's a lot of snow and they need to come in and eat. There's no, thanks for that, but there's no coyotes. It's a cat. It's a cat. Everyone's saying it's a cat. Okay. This is why I love the listeners. When I ask a life question, they usually come through. Colson, any update on your backyard? Sorry, you can't. Can you even talk?
Yeah,
You had no idea I was going there, did you? I didn't want to ruin it. I wanted to keep it organic. That's why I didn't say anything earlier.
Well, first, I just have to go cut my lawn real quick. Hold on. No update since Thursday, which you weren't here, so in case you missed it, my landlord is apparently on holiday. We'll be getting back in this next week or so. So then we'll be dealing with the backyard, looking into that. But before that, some random person decided to park on my parking pad in our backyard because my wife sent me a text.
In the middle of it, on a double parking pad. They parked in the middle, and Colson didn't call the cops to get it removed. Barney, you would have had that thing. You would have had that thing filleted and sold for parts within an hour if somebody parked in your driveway.
Box Auto Parts.
Yeah, it was Thursday or Friday last week, and my wife just sent me a picture while gets home around 5:30, and I'm working the show. Sends a picture of a van parked in the middle of the parking pad, and so I got home at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Kind of van.
Yeah,
What kind of van?
A Grand Caravan, a white
Dodge
Grand
minivan.
Caravan.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, I got home at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I was tired and didn't want to deal with it, so that's my excuse for not.
Is it
calling
still
the
there?
cops. No.
Okay.
It was there till like 10 o'clock though. So I'm guessing it was somebody across the alley or something. But even then, it was the middle of the day. All the parking spots were open. Why would you? And they're all private. So I don't know.
Initially, if I was going to say if it was still there, definitely hot. Probably want to call that in.
Oh yeah.
And maybe someone needs to check the back of it. Could be something rotting back there. Okay, well at least they moved it. That's good. Okay, we got everything settled here. Van's moved. Sounds like it's a cat. You got about 13,
Sounds like it.
15 cats. Boom, boom, boom.
I love that Colson's landlord's on vacation, spending his rent money, just like living. He's in Vegas at the high roller
What kind of
tables.
vacation guy is he? Is he a Vegas? Maybe he's a Laughlin guy.
I have no idea. I've met the guy like
Reno?
3 or 4 times.
Reno, Nevada. Who's going to Reno?
Who can afford Vegas these days? Slice of pizza and a beer is $23.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. If you got anything on the decapitated bunnies on my lawn, 936-6262. This is the Sports Cage, where we solve problems in 620 CKRM. All right, Sports Ticker Rider News Riders have signed American offensive lineman Jack Sherwin and re-signed global punter Joe Couch. Talked about that with Dave Thomas. We'll talk about it a little bit more. NHL tonight, Florida can punch their ticket to the Cup final with a sweep of the Carolina Hurricanes. They're at home tonight. Stars and Oilers tomorrow, Game 4, Oil up 2-1. Memorial Cup, the 1-0 Medicine Hat Tigers take on the 0-1 Moncton Wildcats. London is 2-0 with their win yesterday. Dale Hunter became the winningest coach in Memorial Cup history. PWHL, Saskatoon's Emily Clark in Ottawa trying to stay alive in the final as they are in Minnesota for Game 4, down 2-1 in the best of 5. All 3 games have been 2-1 overtime games. I haven't seen that before. Blue Jays matinee action against Texas. Regina Red Sox home opener coming up Thursday. Curry Field versus Swift Current. Allegedly, we will be there, is what I'm told, doing the show there. And NBA tonight, OKC up 2-1 in Minnesota to play the Timberwolves. That is your sports ticker for Reliance Heath Water Heater Rentals, keeping you in hot and soft water. Call on Reliance. We got 40 seconds left, Maz. We got Google reviews coming in on the text line. We got pictures coming through on the text line. Everybody is all over this. It sounds like a cat. Foxes
what are people Google reviewing?
Just how some animals. Well, Colson, what did you say? Some animals. That's how they kill.
They're just sending in their Google search to us, not Google review.
Oh, okay. This is like Barney giving blood or getting blood taken. There's a big difference in the two.
No name here, but boys, got to put weasel in the conversation. Used to get into the chicken coop and eat nothing but the head. Okay, weasel's on the board. Watch out for those weasels. Okay, we got a break. This is awesome. And continue this in hour 2. Eric Francis.
Corporate or otherwise?
What's that?
Corporate or otherwise? In real life.
Clutch Performer, training camp, more from there. It's the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Welcome back to the Sports Cage on this Monday for Kellen Solar, Maz, and Barney. Hockey tonight, Carolina trying to stay alive against Florida. Like, really hard to believe that we're saying that, Maz. And conference final, again, it's been super lopsided. We talked about it a little bit in hour 1. It's now time to talk to our NHL insider, Eric Francis, for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Right now, employee pricing is back in May. Massive savings, or you can get 0% interest rates, OAC, on your next purchase. Worth the drive every time to Southie, Saskatchewan, the new king of trucks. Mainline Chrysler in Southie. Eric Francis is with us, and he is at the stadium in Edmonton. For a second there, I thought it was Northlands. call it Old Northlands, the way that the top looks there. I was like, oh, is it bring like a one more? Yeah, is that what it? Yeah, Rexall Place ceremonial twirl around that. How's the stay been in Edmonton for you? It looks like you did some shopping, bought a nice new tarp.
Yeah, no, this shirt's worth more than $20, so I couldn't have bought it in Edmonton. Anyway, yeah, great to see you boys. How's everybody doing? That's you know what,
Eric, that's going to get you a fight in the moss pit instantly. If there's Edmonton fans, will be like, that's it. I have to fight Eric in his new shirt in the moss pit. That's it. It has to happen.
I play it up like I hate Edmonton, and sometimes it's a joke, sometimes it's real. But look, it wouldn't be a Battle of Alberta if I didn't play into that stereotype a bit. But it's funny, I was sitting having dinner the other night with all the boys, and one of our faithful listeners to the SportsCage came by and wanted to say that he loves our hits, and he bought us a round of shots. And it was great. And this has happened to me, like, this is the third time now when I'm on the road where someone from Saskatchewan who's clearly traveling to watch the same games I'm covering comes up and says, hi. You guys, I knew you guys were a big deal. I just didn't know that it was international. You know what I mean?
I love that he bought you shots. That is a Sasky thing. What did you go with? What kind of shot did you go with?
You know, great
Burt
question.
Reynolds.
That's why you guys are so good. We had just had a Burt Reynolds. Funny, he bought.
I was kidding about the Burt Reynolds. Okay, I was kidding about the Burt Reynolds. Okay.
No, you don't. No, it's funny because somebody bought us Burt Reynolds, and I was like telling the guys. I was sitting with David Amber and Pierre LeBrun and all these guys. I go, guys, if someone just walked up to the bar and did this, and for those who are just listening on the radio, I'm holding my finger under my nose like as if I'm a mustache. And at Stampede, you just go to a bartender and just go, give me 8 of these, and they know that they're Burt Reynolds. That's how you order a Burt Reynolds, because of the mustache. Okay. And I don't know if you knew that, but I'm trying to, teach people. And and then this guy comes along and bought a Shafts, which is a very Calgarian thing.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah, but I never had Shaft shooters. I've always had a Shaft is a full drink. There's caffeine. There's Kahlua. It's kind of like an espresso martini, but with a straw and ice, and you chug the whole thing. It gained prominence. Was invented in Calgary at one of my favorite restaurants, and you chug the whole thing with a straw. You sip it really quickly, and it kind of gives you a bit of a head rush because of the caffeine and such. So anyway, there you go. There's my the mixologist section of today's hit.
First place I had a Shaft Mexican resort, and it was like late, like third, fourth day, and it's like, I got to get to bed. They're like, no, have one of these. It'll pick you up. And it was like a Jolt Cola back in the 80s, like full of caffeine. And I was like, I don't know how many of those a guy should drink. I think the guy and girl that I was with, they were on like their fourth ones. I was like, ugh, I don't know, but the Shaft. Oh, that's good. Yeah, we got listeners everywhere. This guy had to have been wearing some sort of denim.
No denim jacket. No, we went with the golf shirt. That's pretty standard in at a sports bar sort of thing. Hey, to be, this might shock you. He looked normal. I don't, maybe you didn't see that coming, but he looked like a normal dude. Great guy.
Okay, let's get into hockey here. I love this segment. I mentioned it before we came in with you. Like, is it hard to believe that Carolina's on the verge tonight of being done and Florida's on their way, driving their golf carts to the Stanley Cup final?
Like, the dominance in that series is pretty, I don't know, kind of in retrospect, we go, yeah, well, of course, Florida is the best team in the tournament probably, and like they're just dominating, and Carolina's got that incredible record of losing consecutively in 4 straight conference finals. They haven't won a single game. It's men against boys in that series, and it really sets up an interesting debate that we're already having here in Edmonton over whether or not, the way the Oilers dominated basically the last 2 games. And I know the second period yesterday was a little lopsided for the Stars, but at the end of the day, they lost 6-0. And over the last 2 games, everyone's thinking, okay, it's obviously going to be a rematch between the Oilers and Florida, and who wins that? We're already at that stage because of the dominance we're seeing in both ends as to have, who's going to win that already. And I don't know the answer.
A lot of people are talking, and I'm sure when you're having shots with your cronies there, the big names that you were with, like people are talking on sports radio and sports talk shows that Carolina is probably built the wrong way, and this is evidence of when you look too much at analytics, maybe, and not so much off play and feel and what Florida's built off. Do you buy into that at all?
Yeah, I actually think there's something there. I haven't heard someone say that, but I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, because the general manager in Carolina is the biggest analytics freak in the league, right? And it's not about looking at someone in the eye or on the ice and deciding who he is. It's about looking at the numbers and then going from there. You look at a lot of these guys in Florida, a lot of them, you'd probably pick those guys based on the eye test, just looking at their character, seeing what their character's all about, seeing the way they play. They might not test as well or have as good of numbers, but boy, the sum of their parts is a whole lot more serious than the one in Carolina, that's for sure.
Eric, I think the biggest thing, and to Barney's point about Carolina, it's all analytics and no heart. Florida's all heart. You see the other night at the end of the game, the Aho situation with Tkachuk. And there was a shot earlier, and Tkachuk's sitting in the penalty box, and he's pointing at his head like, keep your head up and watch out. I'm watching this Dallas Stars team, and there's no pushback at all. And I don't know what it was like live, but I almost wanted to go grab Jamie Benn to be like, you're a monster of a man. Do something. Grab somebody. The Oilers are running roughshod over you. There is absolutely nothing coming back from Dallas.
I agree. And I'll just caution, and I'll preface everything by saying, look, if the Stars, and it wouldn't be the biggest shocker of all time, were somehow to be able to win the game tomorrow, then we're looking at it with a completely different lens, right? And not suddenly Dallas is in the driver's seat because they have home ice advantage in a best of three. Listen, but the way it is right now, the way the last two games have gone, Ottinger's allowed 12 goals. There doesn't seem to be the physical pushback, certainly from the Stars. Like, I can't believe, like, Zach Hyman had 10 hits the other night. He's about to shatter the NHL record for hits in a postseason. And if I'd have given you a list of guys who were going to shatter the record this year in hits, I'm not sure Zach Hyman would have been at the top of it. But it's an amazing thing that he's done. They're out hitting him 2-1 in every game right now. Like, they're dominating him physically. And you're right, you're not seeing a lot of push-shot back because they don't have a lot of guys who can push back. But Jamie Benn would be one of them. And you're not seeing it. The Oilers, and over the last two games anyway, and really even the game one when the Oilers just imploded in the third period, the Oilers have beaten this team in every possible way. You want to talk special teams a little bit? You want to talk 5-on-5? It's an absolute obliteration. The Oilers are at the point now where I feel like they're a team that could beat you any way you want to play it. And that's a pretty significant extra feather in their cap that I think they've added this year as they go into the playoffs.
And then let's be honest, it sounds like Ekholm could be inserted at any point here. Now, do you even need him, or do you maybe give him a few twirls before the final if they make it, or you just rest him?
I think it's a debate that they're having. Like, I think that's actually the tone of the debate. Like, we could put him in, but we kind of have a little bit of control of the series. So let's sit him one more game. If we really need him in Dallas because the series is tied, then great. If we don't, then we probably buy ourselves an extra 10 days, 6 days, who knows what it is. So listen, a reminder and we had a long chat with him today, and it sure seemed, just by the sheer fact that they were making him available, that he's ready. And I just remind everybody that when he came back last time, he lasted, mere seconds, and he realized he couldn't play anymore, and it shut him down for another lengthy period of time. So they want to be sure that he's ready, and more importantly, I think they want to be sure that they absolutely need him. And you're right, it might not be for game 4.
Well, as it seems, the Stuart Skinner bandwagon is filling back up. He's played great the past couple of games, but Dallas really hasn't caused any chaos in front of the net. A bandwagon where people are jumping off. Jason Robertson, leading scorer for Dallas, 35 goals in the regular season. Can't buy anything, not even a sniff. The goal yesterday, maybe it was tipped, but it wasn't. He's gone ice cold, and Dallas needs him. Like, what is
they
Pete
needed a lot
DeBoer
of guys?
Yeah, they needed a lot of guys, but Jason Robertson, what's Pete DeBoer saying about his leading scorer from the regular season?
I asked him about him today. Listen, I got to be fair here. Like, Jason Robertson is really badly hurt right now. And, you know, he's playing through something. And when this season ends, we're going to hear just how bad it was, because he's skating up the ice. It looks laborious for him. He was slated yesterday to start. Yeah, thanks. And I spell it with a U, by the way. 2 U's, by the way, Canadian version. Anyway, he was slated yesterday to start on the fourth line. Like, that's how poorly he's playing, but also how little their expectations are of him. It was only when Hintz couldn't go after the warm-up that they decided to try him on the top line about midway through the first period, and he stayed there the rest of the game. He didn't even know he scored the goal. I talked to him after the game. Somebody said, how great is it to get the monkey off your back? And he said, like, yeah, I'm hoping at some point. They said, you scored the goal. They gave it to you. He goes, they did? And then someone said, did you touch it? He goes, I don't know what's going on. Like, he didn't know he touched it. So I'm just going to say that he's playing with something real bad. So it's tough. I don't want to be too critical on him. But I also will say that I think Jason Robertson also has a bit of a history of not being as good in the playoffs as he does in the regular season. But I don't think that's fair to bring out right now, because I think he's banged up.
Rope Hintz. I was somewhat shocked he didn't play in that game. Now, anyone that's ever played the game, I even think you get into like some heavy beer league games or adult safe finals, let alone junior and going back. That slash on the top of the foot can sting. I've never really seen it where it can break a foot. Now, mind you, it could. So I was talking to guys this weekend at the rink, and they were like, yeah, you know, we've all had that. Not, you know, it's a kind of a dying art. And I said, because if you don't get free sticks, you don't want to do it. The way these sticks are built nowadays, because you're coming down. Ooh, it's not like the old wooden, you know, Coho Revolution. Have you got anything on him? How bad is it? Do you know, like, if he doesn't play that game, is he going to play the next game if it's a broken foot?
Yeah, I don't know. He came out and spoke to us today, and he didn't want to get into whether he thought it was a bad slash or anything. He just said, look, the question we really had for him was, how close were you to playing? And he goes, like, I don't really know how to answer that. I don't know how close I was, but I just know that I couldn't have gone. So he didn't skate today. And he wouldn't even commit. Like, someone said, well, you'll just take another spin in the warm-up tomorrow and see how it is. He goes, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. So I'm not sure where we are. Look, I think the whole hockey world at first when we saw it, we're like, okay, go to the dressing room, milk it to try to get the major, and then you're back one shift later. Well, when he didn't finish the game, everyone's like, well, that's awfully embarrassing if you're going to come back for the next game that you faked it that long. Now I think we all realize it's clearly a lot more serious. And I heard Jason Strudwick, for example, talking about it. He goes, oh, it gives me shivers down my spine when you can slash a guy on the feet and find that perfect spot where you know you hurt him real bad. You know, so to your point, those who play enough hockey realize, as innocent as that looked, if you get him in the right spot, you can see why he may miss a lot more than just the one game.
Well, I think for a Dallas Stars fan, that's where the frustration came in, because if that happened against Florida, somebody is fighting Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse is taking some punches to the head. Yeah, nothing happened. Yeah. There was no pushback. And then the next game, there was absolutely nothing. And so I think it's just a matter of time. There was that one shift. I think it was the Oilers' third goal, McDavid. I'm like, he's going to do this to you. It's funny you mentioned beer league. McDavid is out there being an NHL star, playing against what looked like beer league defense there. And he's just going his 28 miles. I was watching the game on ABC, so it showed he was going 28 miles an hour, 28.1 miles an hour, and then in. Nothing. And no answer. If you're Pete DeBoer, and Pete DeBoer's not the freak-out guy, but I did like his comment, and he said, hey, if it was Connor McDavid laying on the ice, it would be a different story. There would be a whole other narrative going on, but it wasn't. But then also Pete that's where you got to go behind closed doors and be like, all right, who's answering the bell for this? Like, who's sticking up for one of our best players?
Sign somebody out of the moss pit.
Yeah, it was tough for people in the moss pit fighting. Which, geez, Eric, I want to see a full piece on sportsnet.ca on moss pit people that have been arrested in the past 14 days. Full profiles, criminal history, if there's bail. Was it one of those quick, because the government's changed, like a no bail, cash bail situation? Are you going to help reform them? Or they get to live at your house in the summer and integrate back into society?
Yeah, I would be very scared to weigh into the moss pit, but mostly because I'm Calgarian. And I can't fight either. There's that too. So, and I'm not drunk. So I'm not hitting any of the things you need to be in the moss pit.
0 for 3.
Yeah, it sure looks fun when I walk by it, like at a safe distance. You can hear them many hours before the game, getting all hyped up and drinking their shafts and their Burt Reynolds and whatever else, fuel they can put in.
Go do a hit. Go do a hit in there with that shirt on. I want to see how that goes.
And then we'll see how many hits happen after that.
Oh my God. Yeah, this ain't my town. We'll just say that. We'll just leave it at that. This ain't my town.
Well, I saw one of the local TV stations, they were doing a story, and I don't know why the camera guy, and usually camera guys, they're TV reporters are a little, you've met enough of them, Eric, they're a little into themselves, right? But usually the camera dudes are super cool. But what I didn't get, there was this lady, she was doing a story talking to the crowd in the moss pit. And instead of taking a proper shot of the crowd, they have the porta potties in the background. So she's doing this interview about it with a super fan with the porta potties. And like, you could not turn like another 45 degrees and got the stage or the band or the crowd. No, all Edmonton porta johns lined up in all its glory. A quick question, because I wasn't paying attention because I'm not Mr. Analytics. If it is Florida and Edmonton, did Florida have a better regular season record with more points? Would they have home ice in the Stanley Cup final?
I remember looking at this. I'm stumped. It's a quick Google, and everyone listening can do the work because we're not doing it apparently.
Because there's three bums on this show that couldn't bother to Google it themselves.
Edmonton had more points.
Edmonton had more? Okay, I thought, and it was close, right? It was like 1 or 2 points, right?
No.
It was, I remember, no?
Yeah, it was 3 points, yes.
3 points, yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember Dallas was only 1 point, I think, better than Edmonton. It was close. Anyway, yeah. So we'll open the final here in Florida, or in Edmonton, I mean.
Yeah. Let's go. I might come to one.
That's great.
Is that cot still open?
That's right. It's only $15 a night. I'll get the cot. Come on up. It's nice.
Let's go.
I almost just said my hotel, but I'm not saying it.
Or you'd have all the Sasky people wanting to come for a parking lot beer. Yeah, that'll be good times. Yeah,
that'd be fun. Hey, I'm wide open. Would love to have more drinks with the SportsCage listeners for sure. But I'm not giving out my hotel name. That's for sure.
All right. Have a good one. You guys get to do this again on Wednesday. And we'll know if it's one more going back to Dallas, which is hard to believe as well.
Hey, listen to this. I was just looking at some numbers. Wyatt Johnston, right? Going to be a stud for a lot of years. Already a stud at a young age. What is he, 21, 22? Minus 17 in the playoffs.
Nice.
I'm not sure I don't know. Like, that's got to be close to an NHL record because the further you go in the playoffs, theoretically, you're not going to be a minus player, generally speaking. I mean, the whole Stars team is just filled with -13s, -12s. But that number just jumped out at me. And anyway, I just thought, there's my research for the hit. That's the only research I did for today. -13, -17.
Our NHL insider, Eric Francis, clothing provided by Bootlegger. 2 locations in Edmonton, West Edmonton Mall and the Kingsway Mall.
No, they went out of business. Barney, didn't you read? They went into receivership because Ricky's, Bootlegger, the whole thing. They're closed down.
They're blowing things out. They're blowing things out.
Yeah, I got this at the Bay. It was the last shirt left when they were closing the door.
Send it
That's
to me.
where I
I'll
got
put
it.
it on Kijiji or Used Regina here. That thing will sell for sure. It'll sell
For a
in
cable
red.
cloth. Okay.
Eric
See you, boys.
Francis. It is brought to you by Southie Mainline Chrysler, new king of trucks in Southeast Saskatchewan. Worth the drive every time guaranteed right now. Employee pricing is back. Massive savings. They're celebrating 100 years in Canada. Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. Worth the drive every time. Guaranteed. Could be the worst conference finals that I remember, Maz. If it ends tonight and then Edmonton knocks out Dallas in 5.
Well, on the flip side of that, I would say that Florida and Edmonton just showed how dominant they are, and they are the two. If they end up in the Stanley Cup final, they're the two most deserving teams that need to be in the Stanley Cup final.
Absolutely embarrassed in my Keniston super drafts if that happens. Like I should never be allowed to play again. Never be allowed to play again. Okay, we'll go to break here. It's the SportsCage. That was a lot of fun. If you weren't watching the stream on YouTube, you didn't get to see Eric's shirt and all the fun we had there. It is at sportscage.com. Subscribe, hit the like button. And always, we are on 620 CKRM. Clutch performer time. I got one, and then I have, what are we calling our not clutch performer? Whatever it is. Both for Nick Service and Emerald Park. We're not sure. Do you have one?
Unclutch or clutch?
Either or.
Well, my clutch performer, I know there's no free shout-outs, but deli department at Save On Foods. That's where we got all the food from for the 75th surprise birthday party for my mother-in-law on Saturday. Barney, months of planning. Lot of late nights, a lot of tension, party planning. A lot goes into it. Spent $93 on balloons.
Whoa.
$93 in balloons.
Did she
For
appreciate
6
the
balloons.
Did she appreciate it?
She
Is it like
loved
a
it.
card?
She was totally surprised. She had no idea. And this has been going on. And we had like 65 people there.
Nice for her. What an event.
So thanks to
How many people?
the deli department, 65. Thanks to the deli department at Save On Foods, just one of the many businesses that came through when it was clutch.
Yeah.
The pickle olive combination platter, probably the hit of the buffet table.
Okay, quickly.
Old people still love sandwiches. That's a universal
and
thing.
Nanaimo bars. And Nanaimo bars.
There was no egg salad and no Nanaimo bars. Thank you very much. And the other thing too, unpopular, unclutch performer opinion here, could get a lot of hate for the new listeners. Sorry, Barney. Butter tarts are trash. Never need them. Don't like them. Don't eat them.
They're really sweet. I can't have a lot of sugar, but they're good. Nanaimo bars. You tell me in 30 years, the Nanaimo bar might be extinct. Because like that, the whole growing up, like no one, you don't see them anymore. Does anyone like them? I don't know.
Nobody makes
They're
them.
trash. They're trash.
No, butter tarts are more trash than Nanaimo bars.
2011 Subaru Classic, AAA champions, the Monday Nooner Pigeons. What a squad was assembled. Coaches, Chance Rogers, Josh Miller, Tyler Van Leuven. Quickly, I'm going to run down all the boys. Alex Kowalik, Hunter Ryan, Briar Luce, Jagger Coral, Cade Doven, Kelson Howerluck, Blake Nieder.
Listen to those names.
Caleb
Those
Moselle.
are new kid names. Those are awesome. Like Jagger. Like there was no
Caleb
Jagger
Moselle.
in the 70s.
Parker Bleach, Bridger Uchelenko, Matthew Skiba, Colby McCall, Levi Zimmer, Oakley Reed. In goal, Liam Rogers and Lyndon Spazov. Good job, boys. And kudos to everyone who's running the Subaru Classic, one of the top spring hockey tournaments in Western Canada. A lot of work goes into that. And coaches out there, hockey coach, I haven't coached him since novice. I don't know, whatever. Hockey coaches, I don't know how you do it. A, the stress, the mental fatigue, and were my feet sore? Like, I'm like, what? Do I got to buy a special shoe to stand on a bench on all these games? I don't know how coaches do it. It's hard. My feet were sore. I felt 80. I felt like I was eating Nanaimo bars.
You might have to go for another physical just to get your feet prescribed.
What is that, a podiatrist?
Proper footwear.
I need to go see?
I went to one of those because that's one of those doctors you got to pay up front.
Yeah. Oh, do
I'm
you?
iffy on the podiatry. Yeah, well, the one I went to.
I'm going to roll Google then. I'm going Google until that. And then my unclutch performer, real, whoever's running so the one hockey rink, the big one, C6, you have to pay somebody. I found this out this weekend, and all these parents are like, you got to get to the bottom of it. You got to get to the bottom of it, which I will. You have to pay someone $130 an hour. You guys want a gig? You guys want a side gig? You'll listen to this, Colson. You might know. You have to pay someone $130 an hour, minimum 3 hours, to sit there and monitor the volume control when you're playing music in the rink. Only one of the rinks.
That's called union dues.
No, but the other rinks, it doesn't matter. It's because they're worried about the speakers getting blown. Isn't it $100 part to put like a cap on a volume so you don't blow speakers?
I don't know about the specific parts, but no, what I'm saying is to operate specific equipment at Real, because of the union there and unions for different departments.
This one is just to do with the speakers. I got to get to the bottom of it.
I worked in that union.
And I'm like,
I know.
But we ran music beginning of last year. They just changed it. So somebody's making 130 scoots an hour.
Probably just updated their contract. But yeah, it's very common. If you're doing anything speaker, anything related, you need to have a union person there. You got to pay them.
Who is simple enough to let that go through a contract? Oh, okay. Every swimming pool, every gymnasium, every other hockey rink in the city, we're fine. This one, you got to pay someone $130, minimum 3 hours, because the speakers are going to blow. I remember my 6x9s in my car. You used to put a cap on it so they wouldn't blow. Like, it's 2025. Can't we just do that? I'm not going to get into it. Dave's waiting. We're going to have to get to the bottom of that. Clutch Performer, next service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson
like
Challenger.
You are into it.
Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. It. Oh, I'm revved now. Are we going straight into Dave or break?
Can I do my Clutch Performer? No?
Is it to do with speakers?
No, it's not. You'll laugh at it, though, because everyone knows the Indy 500, but there's also an event called the Wiener 500. And so this weekend, racing hot dog cars around the Indianapolis Speedway, I think it was the Slaw Dog, pulled out the come from behind upset on the final straightaway. So, Slaw Dog, you get a Clutch Performer, but yeah, these are events that I really enjoy.
Cool. I got 2 text messages. I'm an idiot because I got so fired up about the music. I mentioned all the kids on the team except for Roman Shynkaruk.
I was going to ask that too.
Man, I gotta go. We gotta get Dave after break. We gotta get Dave after break. What?
Maybe I'm super out of touch. Does it really take 4 dads to coach a hockey team these days?
2 guys weren't dads. I built it based on 2 independent guys. I'm not stupid. You don't want 4 dads on the bench. That's just chaos. That's why I never coach hockey. Because I'm a dad.
Are you running video with Eye in the Sky and you're wearing an earpiece? I watched the calls from the booth.
I did watch video Saturday after about 13 beer. I was watching beer, and then I passed out with the iPad on top of me. It is the SportsCage, streaming at sportscage.com. Saskatchewan Roughrider training camp reports are brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar right behind the Saskatoon Travelodge. Dave Thomas back with us from home, not from the Red Zone this time. Hey, fellas, did you just see moments ago the Saskatchewan Roughriders have signed national kicker Dawson Hodge from Coquitlam, BC, played for the Laurier Golden Hawks. What do you guys make of that?
He was 22 for 28 last year, right? Is that good? 78%? Like, is that?
Yeah, no, that's good. And what I would submit to you as well, he was with the Toronto Argonauts. He signed there as an undrafted free agent, so he was just released from the Argonauts. And again, that's a familiar story for Canadian kickers. Heck, Brett Lothar had that happen to him at the start of his career, where you kind of bounce around looking for an opportunity, and it sounds to me that he'll come in and get an opportunity. What was the final score on the game on Saturday? 15-9. The Riders missed 2 field goals along the way that could have tied the game. Am I saying that one is better than the other? Absolutely not. I'm just saying, why not explore every opportunity that you can in the preseason? And the Roughriders obviously have done their work on Dawson Hope and are going to take a flyer on him and see what he presents.
Is he brought in more to kick or to punt or to do both, or do we know?
Well, keep in mind in U Sports, you have a punter kicker, right? You don't have two players that take those two roster spots.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be one. So it's his kicker. And again, you know what? If you can do both, why not? You're coming into an opportunity. I don't know that we'll ever see a day where there is one player that is the kicker and punter from a team, but never say never, right?
I loved Justin Medlock when he played for the Bombers because he was one position, did exceptionally well at both. And I will tell you a little moment of honesty here. I was never scared last year during Rider football until that game when what did Lothar miss, like 14 or 15 field goals? And Luke went off. And he was mad. And I remember being in the booth and I'm like, I'm just going to stand over here when he packed up his stuff and he left and he went downstairs to do the post-game show. He was so fired up. And I'm like, Dave, would you not agree? He was passionate that game about everybody needs competition in their job to keep competition healthy, to keep you sharp and at the top of your game.
He was emotional. Yes, he was. And again, you take it from Luke's lens and the fact that Luke knows the athleticism that is required to kick a ball, but right, there's always that thing in the locker room, or just a kicker, right? And it is one of the most important positions on the team because it can be the difference between winning and losing. And unfortunately, on that night for Brett Lothar, that was the difference for the Saskatchewan Roughriders losing a game to the Montreal Alouettes. Fast forward, though, the rest of his season was absolutely remarkable and off the charts, as he really only misses one field goal from then on out, a 60-yard attempt on Labor Day.
Let's keep it going then with specialty. What was that? And then I'm just thinking, what was the last Rough Rider to do both? Was it Luca Conji?
Yes, it was. Luca Conji did both in a game.
Yeah. Mario Alfred, we talked about it in hour one. He's being pushed, Dave.
No, he is. Dre McCray, we've seen Dante Myers, we've seen Daniel Weeb all taking different turns returning kicks, as has Mario Alfred throughout camp. But again, it's a situation that was going to have to resolve itself. So again, go right to the gentleman that sees them the most, and that's the special teams coordinator, Kent Majuri. Coach, back home, even though we're halfway through training camp, what's it like?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's so fun for us to see like the eyes of the new players who've never seen it. Nothing wrong with U of S. It's a great facility, but then you come here, you're like, oh wow, all right. So it's like Christmas for us, you know, unwrapping the presents. You get to see your kids do it. So.
Now, you mentioned eyes wide open. I'm sure there were a few of them in Winnipeg over the weekend. How would you assess, the special teams play?
I thought they played hard. They played physical. You know, they did what we asked for the most part. It's always a learning experience, especially for the guys down south. The cardio factor is a big difference. And there's no hiding, there's no tapping, you got to go. So, and we talked to them about it, but you don't know until you're in it. So some of those guys were struggling mentally, so they just got to push through. It's fun for me to watch, too, who's got the mental toughness to get through it.
Dre McCray, I thought, had a terrific game returning the football. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him throughout camp and even into that game?
He's explosive. He's fun to watch. He's exactly who he thought he was going to be. He can score anytime he touches it. He's dangerous, and he's fearless. And to have a north-south threat like that, all he needs is a little crease, and he's going to make you pay.
And I thought your units did a terrific job of finding those creases for him. What did you see in the blocking scheme?
Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job. You know, they are. They're taking the coaching, the technique, the effort, the details are there. And good thing, you know, KOR I thought was a bright spot for us for sure.
Tell me about your punt game. Bailey Flint has come in. Joe Couch has just been re-signed. Competition is obviously great at this time of year, but what have you got from your punters?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's the same thing. Bailey hasn't played in a couple years, so he's got some rust. He had some nerves, and you kind of expect it. And same with their guy. Wind was a bit of a factor, but not enough to be erratic with the ball. So, you know, we hold the guys to the high standard, and the ball needs to go where we need them, but he's getting better every day, which is great, which is progress. We brought Joe back to compete, and that's the same thing. Get better and be consistent for both of those guys.
Brett Lothar has got a new holder, whomever it may be.
Oh, yeah.
What do you have to do to talk to your kicker and form that chemistry between holder and kicker?
It's reps. It's repetition, because it's a big difference for sure, depending on the holder, the snapper, all of it. And Jorgen is elite, so we get the laces pretty much about 95% of the time where it needs to be. But then getting it down on the tee, with the correct lean on the right spot, because 1 inch, 2 inch variance is a big difference on where that location's going to go. So, it's they got to work together and get tons and tons of reps.
Matter of inches. I think that goalpost was too wide in Winnipeg. That was my assessment.
Oh, yeah, I agree. You know what, though? I don't care if it goes, you do, but you want to see him strike the ball well.
Yeah.
And that was the best ball he struck. And it hit the upright. It is what it is, but at least he hit it well. The other one that went in, I was more disappointed at that because of his technique.
You're a perfectionist, Coach.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Would have been a tough day to practice any kind of kicking in Regina today, which is good because you're going to see those in games. Like it was windy here today. It's going to be windy here tomorrow, Dave. I'm sure you'll see it down there in that bowl.
Absolutely. And you know what I thought was really remarkable when it came to Bailey Flint and the kicking that he was doing up in Saskatoon is, and I'm going to make a golf analogy, right? So you're 100 yards out or whatever. What are you going to use? A wedge, Barney?
56 degree or 60 wedge.
Your choice. Okay. So you bring your wedge out, right? And you practice over and over and over with that wedge, trying to land the ball in the exact same spot. And I remember one practice in particular, the wind was gusting, and literally Bailey was kicking the ball from the far sideline, and he started it towards the 50-yard line on the right side of the midfield. The ball would end up on the 49 on the other side as he was playing the wind, but it did it over and over and over again. And of course, we would wish to be that good and consistent with our wedges, but that's exactly what it was. And unfortunately for Bailey, it just didn't transform into what had to happen during the game.
Yeah. So we talked in hour one. We're going to talk about more in hour three. People are just tuning in. Dre McCray, he did great. I thought Trevor Harris, I thought maybe like 1 or 2 series. He ends up playing longer than I thought. A little bit of rust, which is expected, I guess. Remember last year this time when I was confused. And I'm like, Winnipeg didn't play any veterans in the preseason, and then they kind of stunk early in the season. They picked it up. What are you guys thinking going into this weekend? Do you think that we're going to see a lot of vets again, like the Harrises, the Olets, all that? Or at home, are they going to maybe go a different route?
For me, I would venture in and give you my opinion, but my opinion is so wrong because the football operations department is way smarter than me, quite frankly. I didn't think that we would even see Trevor Harris playing in Winnipeg, but then it started to dawn on me that, hey, you know what? Really, when you look at the schedule moving forward, it is a compressed schedule for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, whether you're looking preseason to preseason game like the Riders are playing, of course, 6 days in between, or even to the game 1 of week 1 in the regular season. There's only 5 days there, right? So you want to be at your best in week number 1. So I think that what happened is that Trevor Harris was told, okay, you go out there and you play, you get comfortable, you tell us when you're ready, and we're going to take you out probably sooner than you tell us that you're ready. So he's got his feel, he's got his understanding, and now when we get down into Regina here on Friday, which is where I am, good thing I remembered that, but when we get to Mosaic Stadium on Friday night, when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers roll into town, I think you're going to see a lot of different battles for positions. So if you're on that bubble, I think you need to make the most of the reps and the playing time that you're going to get, because a lot of the veterans, I think, are pretty well set as far as being ready to go and knowing what they need to do to be ready to go when the regular season opens a week from Thursday against Ottawa.
What do you think, Maz, quickly?
I think Mace has enough respect for somebody like Harris, who's played a lot of football. Hey, do you need reps this game? Do you feel in the groove? Because it's go time next Thursday. If he says, yes, I need it, then he's playing. If he says, no, I think he's not. And then Mace, that's one less body that Mace has to worry about. But I think it's a respect thing for, I would say him, Micah Johnson, Jameer Thurman. Are you guys good? Okay, we're good. All right, you're out. Or you're in? You're in.
Well, interesting question to ask Darian Durant after 5 o'clock. Thanks, Dave. You're back in hour 3. We'll hear from you in hour 3 again. Thanks so much. It's our Roughrider training camp reports. They're brought to you by the Red Zone Sports Bar right behind the Saskatoon Travel Lodge. Daily specials that we heard about over the last week. Makes a guy hungry. This is the Sports Cage. We are on the home of the Rider, 620 CKRM. Some Rider news today. If you haven't heard, they've signed American offensive lineman Jack Sherwin and re-signed global punter Joe Couch. Also, late this afternoon, Riders added Laurier kicker Dawson Hodge. NHL tonight, Florida can move on to the Stanley Cup final with a sweep of the Carolina Hurricanes. The Canes at home tonight. Stars and Oilers tomorrow, Game 4 with the Oil up 2-1. Memorial Cup tonight, 1-0 Medicine Hat taking on 0-1 Moncton. London, they're 2-0, and with the win yesterday, Dale Hunter became the winningest coach in Memorial Cup history. Professional Women's Hockey League, Saskatoon's Emily Clark and Ottawa trying to stay alive in the final against Minnesota. They're there for Game 4. Minnesota's up 2-1 in the best of 5. All 3 games have been 2-1 overtime games in that series. The Blue Jays playing a little matinee baseball 2-1 win in Texas today. The Regina Red Sox home opener coming up Thursday at Curry Field against Swift Current. And NBA, OKC, they're up 2-1 in Minnesota to play the Timberwolves tonight. That is your sports ticker for Extreme Hockey and Sport. Whatever your spring sport is, Extreme Hockey has you covered. We're going to start hour 3 with Darian Durant. It is the Sports Cage on the home of the Rider, 620 CKRM. A lot has been learned on this program today. The C's are with me. Maz is with me. Hour 2. Well, it was more late hour 1. We kind of found out that the it's probably a cat that's been ripping heads off bunnies on my front lawn in Northwest Regina. Lots of people went with foxes and coyotes. Well, I haven't seen one of those around. Owls are a big one too, Maz. You ever seen an owl in your neighborhood?
No, not up close. No. We had a woodpecker. We had a woodpecker do some damage to the fence this spring. And it's 2025. We live in a different world. But in the old days, that's a slingshot or a pellet gun taking care of the woodpecker. But when I told my wife, and the girls almost started crying, that we can't harm the bird. Well, the bird is harming the fence. It did in 3 posts. I bought the spray.
Eye for an eye.
I bought that stupid glittery tape off Amazon, and I was wrapping the post. The bird laughed at it and just pecked around it.
It's like when I used to live at a top floor of a high rise in a certain city, and to get rid of pigeons, you'd buy one of those fake owls, and then you put batteries in it, and even the heads moved. And at that point, the pigeons just got wise to it, and they're like, "This thing's plastic, bud. I'm gonna just dump all over it." Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Yeah, thanks to everyone on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, 936-6262. Kind of got to the bottom of it. It's probably a cat. Although the ring, now that we got the ring hooked up again, I'm waiting to see what happens. Prairie Land Rentals, anything you need, power tools, gardening, tents, generators, big items like skid steers, they'll deliver whatever that spring or summer job is, 600 Albert Street, and you get to deal with the owner. The other text message that we've had a lot of at 936-6262, Maz, is people that were angry, pissed off, whatever you want to say, about the streaming this weekend of the game, CFL stream. Again, I listened to it on the radio, didn't watch it. Dave and Luke painted a good picture of everything that was going on. A lot of people are choked about that.
When I clicked in, because I listened to a bunch of it, but then when I finally had a chance to click in, it was the 4th quarter. I had no problems. And maybe by then it was solved, but a lot of people were depending on it because they were promoting it. It's a very CFL-y type thing to have happen, that you're going to, no, we're just going to stream these things on the internet, and then the internet crashes. All right, well, be prepared for some backlash. The games, because TSN did 2 games this weekend, but they were both out east. Yeah. Although if you would have done Bombers Riders, you would have pulled some serious numbers. Regardless of the score, field goal fest.
Yeah. Bombers Riders flag football game in March. You'll get numbers. TSN. A lot of people complaining about air horns. And they showed the attendance. Just like Saturday, can we just pre-warn everybody that the attendance number, because the announced attendance was 27,900 9:13 in Winnipeg. Obviously, there wasn't that many people there. You see pictures of the crowd, just how it is. Just how it is. Just like Saturday coming up. Another thing, I don't know about this one. Alan messaged in. Do you know what the experiment the Riders ran Saturday morning was for? It was a waiting in line event, maybe to make waiting in line for beer for the season feel better. We spent 2 hours in line, didn't get a member appreciation gift or a tour of the locker rooms. So Alan's not happy. I don't know anything about that.
See, it was a season ticket holder event, and you got a chance to tour the locker rooms, and you got a gift if you're a season ticket holder. This is from what I was reading. Some people commenting online. Some people say it wasn't as bad as people are saying. Other people are saying it was worse. Like there was long lines everywhere, and that were stretching into the real parking lot, and people were eager and showed up because it is kind of cool. Getting a chance to go into the Rider locker room last year and actually see it up close and personal, you'll see glimpses of it on TV, but to be in there, it's a pretty neat experience. It's a beautiful stadium. And most people, you don't get that chance. You don't get that chance to ever be there. So thousands of people showed up that were invited on Saturday. And so that
Bring
was
your trunks, have a hot tub, play some ping pong in the dressing room. Now we're talking. All right, let's talk to Darian.
It's time for Double Talk with Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Darian Durant. Double Talk is brought to you by Campbell Safety Consulting. At Campbell Safety Consulting, we work towards helping companies create a competitive edge by executing a proactive health and safety program.
There he is, Darian Durant for Campbell Safety Consulting. We are one exhibition game, preseason game in Darian. A lot of criticism. You know what it's like in Sasky. A lot of criticism going around. The new hot toy on the market in Sask is a gentleman by the name of Dre McCray. Nice performance though, right out of the gate, making him think on special teams.
Hey, that's the way to make the team. I mean, you hear it so much, especially in the NFL. If you watch Hard Knocks or any of these type shows, they always tell the guys, if you want to stand out, get out there on special teams and make plays. And here's a prime example of getting out there and making plays when your opportunity presents itself.
Now, I know that when we first learned of Darian Durant, you were a quarterback in the CFL, and then you were a quarterback in college. Did you ever anywhere along the way have to play special teams because you weren't doubles as we know him?
You know what's crazy? I did. When I went as a free agent to the Baltimore Ravens, they had me catching punts for the first time in my life, just catching punts.
Wow.
Never notice I said catching, not returning, because there's no way I could do that. But I was at practice, catching punts off the jug machine, and I actually dislocated my finger. Luckily, it was on my non-throwing hand in one of those drills. So, at that point in time, a 5'11" quarterback was kind of unheard of. So I was trying to do any and everything I could to make the team.
You were doing your Kerry Joseph, right? Play whatever position it takes.
Exactly. At least trying to. Kerry was a hell of a lot better athlete than I ever was. So,
and now, when you tried out for Baltimore, who was the head coach at the time?
It was Brian Billick.
Brian Billick. Okay. Old school.
I mean, that team was loaded. It was Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Deion Sanders, Chris McAllister, Jamal Lewis at running back. They were loaded, man. Loaded.
Who was the nicest? Who was the most welcoming out of those celebs that you just mentioned?
Oh, man, I would say Ray Lewis. I mean, he was, even though he was a superstar, future Hall of Famer, he definitely looked at everyone around that locker room as a contributing factor, right? He knew that he couldn't do it alone. He knew that from player 53 on down to 1, everyone had a role. So he definitely showed that. He was a good dude.
Back to he would actually talk to guys? Oh, yeah, because, I mean, Ray Lewis doesn't need to talk to a young Darian Durant who's a rookie.
With a dislocated finger.
I was too intimidated to even go up to him. I would never go up to him and just hold a conversation. But it was more so if I ever struggled or if I tried to make a play and he was close by, I would, tap him, say, "I would have made that play on you, old head," because he was older at the time. But he was definitely a down to earth guy.
Were you surprised that they played Trevor Harris? Were you surprised that they played Trevor Harris as much as they did?
I was. I was thinking that, especially with the crowd noise in Winnipeg, anything could happen. For me in Winnipeg on a fake, a play that never happened, you just don't want to risk those things in that environment, especially in the preseason. So I was surprised to see him out there for so many snaps. I would think that, it would be a home game where he would get more reps. But, it's something that Coach wanted to see. Coach wanted to see the first team offense get more reps. I'm not sure how they've been performing during camp, but it's, for me, it's an obvious sign that, those guys needed more live reps.
We saw some movement between the 20s, but it turned out to be a field goal fest on both sides, and that can happen in preseason football. I just thought with the amount of starters playing for both teams that we would have maybe saw some early points being put up in the way of touchdowns. Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. I mean, because Collaros, yes, they've lost some guys, but there's still some weapons there. Now for you, when you did that, is it rust? Is it lack of communication? Is it just not enough reps? What usually is the cause of Field Goal Festival 2025?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I think there's rust. I think, guys are getting back into the flow of things. I think it's game speed you have to get adjusted to. And I think it's game planning, right? I don't think you go into that game, with the plan of how to attack a defense when you get in the score zone or the red zone, or you're not scheming up to beat Winnipeg's defense in the score zone. You're really just calling your basic plays, seeing what works, and, not really trying to do anything extra that you don't want them to see. So I wouldn't put too much into that. I don't think the playbook was that big at all to where they were scheming things to score down there when they got close. So I wouldn't put too much onus on that at all.
There were some bright spots. One of them, Jackson Ford.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some guys, and I was just talking to Luke a couple days ago. There are some guys that are really, really sticking out at camp, showing what they can do, and guys that are really ready to put depth on that team, which is really what they're going to need, because every year there's injuries. Every year things happen to starters or guys that were counted on to play a big role for the team. So it's good to have depth and guys that show you that they can make plays.
Now, Darian, when you played, there's two different types of safeties. There's guys like Atunde Adeleke, who retired in the offseason. For a small guy, he was violent, just like Katsantonis for Hamilton. When you're back there, because there's certain safeties that play well, but they're not the heavy hitters or not the big guys. Like, are you always conscious of that with your receivers over the middle? Can you take a little more with a safety that's not as physical, as opposed to a guy that's going to blow up guys like Jackson Ford was doing?
Yeah, I think you always have to know where he is. He's one of those guys that you'll tell your receiver, I don't want to risk it in this situation, especially your health at this point. Later on in the season, playoff time, crunch time, then you have to go for the gusto, right? You have to do what you have to do. But as the season begins and there's a long marathon ahead of you, you have to be wary of guys like that. So I don't think you take as many chances with him sitting and patrolling the middle of the field. You make sure that you're cautious, because it's a marathon, man. It's about longevity, and you want those guys to be, healthy towards the end of the season.
Was there one that stands out? Is there a moment that you exposed someone maybe early in the year that you didn't want to, and you knew, and you were like, what was I thinking, and who was it?
You know what? I tried to make sure that early on in the season, I didn't take as many chances across the middle of the field. I tried to work the sidelines as much as possible. If I was throwing in the middle of the field, I try to keep it under 15 yards, or where a receiver is working his way back to the quarterback instead of running vertically down the middle. So there are strategic ways you have to plan, especially depending on your opposing team, right? You need to know the personnel, what type of guys they have. Are they a physical team? Are they more of a nimble, pull you down, or will they hit you in the mouth? These are things you game plan each and every week. So it just depends on who you're playing, and you take that into account when you decide to attack them across the middle of the field.
I think that just hearing that explanation, if you are game planning and you have to game plan around a physical safety, it's almost like advantage defense, because you'd be like, well, I can't go there. That's one less place to go. So like, all right. And keep in mind, there are still skill guys that weren't big hitters that played safety, but if that threat is always there, we'll get into more threats when we start talking about some of the other games this weekend. Anything else stand out for you? Bright spots that you saw from the Rider game on Saturday? Anybody that caught your eye if you're playing Darian GM Durant?
Well, I really was just looking at Jake Mayer to see, how he took command of the offense. I know it's a system he was familiar with. I think he did okay. I would have loved to see him be a little bit more efficient. But for me, I was really, because I hate to say this, but Trevor hasn't really played a full season in the past couple of years, so I really wanted to see the backups and what they could do, especially when you get rid of Shea Patterson, a guy who came in and played pretty well and won some key ball games when Trevor went down. I wanted to see if Jake, showed that he could do the same thing. So my eyes are really on the quarterback situation to see what they can do. I think they're solid across the board at receiver and at running back, so I want to see what the depth is like behind Trevor.
Darian Durant is brought to you by Campbell Safety Consulting. If you don't have a proper safety program, call Campbell Safety Consulting. You talked about the running backs. There's some bright spots there, right? Like Thomas the Train, Bertrand Houdon. A lot of people were raving about him. Even AJ looked good on a long one. Again, the boys are painting the picture for me on the radio. Dave talked about it in hour one. That's good to see, because that also means the offensive line are opening up holes, right, Darian?
Absolutely. I mean, we've said time and time again about the weather late in the season and the type of elements you're going to be playing in the West. And you need that run game. And not only during late in the season, the Riders have stalled. And I think, Maz, we've talked about this numerous times, how the Riders stall when they seem to get inside the 20. So you need a guy or a group of guys that you can depend on, that Trevor can turn around, hand the ball off to, and can get you key yards and get you into a situation where you can put 6 points on the board instead of 3.
One of the things that I saw with the 4 games, 2 things stood out. One, Bo Levi Mitchell is not going to be shy to throw the football to his new shiny toy. That's number one. And number 2, I think the Calgary Stampeders mean business, because they dominated the Edmonton Elks 31-4.
Settle down.
And
Settle down.
And it's only preseason. But Darian, I'm not sure if you caught any of the game or the highlights. Vernon Adams, when he was in, he played well. He was hitting on some cylinders.
Look, for the first half of the season last year, he's the league MOP, hands down, and nobody's even close. And, I'm sure he has that extra motivation, that extra chip on his shoulder, being shipped out of BC. And now he has a new home, a team that believes in him. And not only that, man, we're not used to seeing Calgary struggle like this. We're not used to seeing, a team not even make the play, not the type of talent to even compete. So you best believe in that front office over there in Calgary. They're doing everything they can to make sure that team is ready to go, fired up. And I think they're going to be a problem in the West this year.
I do too. And I don't think it's a paper preseason thing. I think they have some legitimate players. And the Kenny Lawler, Bo Levi Mitchell in Hamilton, if he gets 6,000 yards, don't be try. Like, first play of the game, the 35 yards down the right sideline. Yeah, it was pass interference, but Kenny Lawler just moved the ball 35 yards because they are not afraid to chuck it.
Look, if you know anything about Scott Milanovich, you know that he loves his shiny, bright, fast cars at receiver. If you look at his time in Montreal and with Ricky Ray in Toronto, he's all about putting receivers on the field that can help your quarterback out. And, you can see what they did this offseason and bringing in Lawler. And they have guys who stepped up last year as younger receivers. And my guy, Naaman Roosevelt over there as the receivers coach, just, he's so excited about the group he has this year and building off of what they did last year. So watch out for Hamilton. I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with this season.
Oh, boy, Hamilton, Calgary, Grey Cup. Hey, the boys are thinking over here.
No. Don't count the Riders out yet now. But
no.
These are some strong teams. It's going to be a good season this year. Looking forward to it.
You got it. All right, Doubles. Thanks as always. Good one. And then, we'll recap the home game next Monday.
Thanks, guys.
Right on. That is Double Talk with Darian Durant. Harassment in the workplace. It's a big one these days. A lot of companies don't handle it correctly. If you don't know what to do, call Campbell Safety Consulting. You're such a child. You laugh every time I do that read. Do you know that?
Well, now that I didn't get a chance last week when it wasn't the double C's because Big Al was in. If we were to do an HR survey, it's only one question now. Every week, every Friday, you have to answer, were you a passenger or were you not? Campbell Safety Consulting could probably put that in some proper lingo. We can make a little website. People just log in anonymously.
There we go.
Were you a passenger or not?
Campbell Safety Consulting. You can find them online. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Here we go. NHL tonight. Florida. They can go to the Stanley Cup final with a win over the Carolina Hurricanes. 4 straight sweep. Ooh. Interesting there. Stars and Oilers tomorrow. Game 4. Memorial Cup tonight. Medicine Hat taking on Moncton. Right away here, that game starts. Professional Women's Hockey League. Saskatoon's Emily Clark and Ottawa trying to stay alive against Minnesota. The Blue Jays beat Texas in matinee baseball today. NBA, OKC up 2-1. They're in Minnesota. A couple of Rider notes if you haven't caught him yet. Jack Sherwin, American offensive lineman, brought in, and they re-signed global punter Joe Couch, and then they brought in Laurier kicker Dawson Hodge today. That is your sports ticker for Steelcraft Doors. Maz, we're going to hear from Dave again in about 5 minutes time here, recapping the game, talking about a lot of the bright spots for the most part from Saturday.
Now, okay, so as Rider Nation,
you're bullish on Calgary.
No, I'm really surprised. If the Stamps were to have another down year, that's okay.
Move the team to Brooks.
What are the chances? Yeah, what are the chances? Like 5 wins for the Stamps was unheard of. I'm like, maybe it's going to be a tough one again. Maybe VA's lost it a little. And I know it's only preseason, but they look good beating BC, and they dominated the Elks. The Elks.
So much to see yet. So much. Like Darian said too, right? Hamilton slinging it around the yard. Surprised they showed that much. Usually let's keep a couple things under wrap. Here we go. We got Dave Thomas after the break, recapping things. It is the Sports Cage on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM.